him up. Adam Schiff has one of the worst senses of humor of anyone I've ever met, so he doesn't need to try parody. But you got to keep in mind, Martha, this is the same Schiff that said he had evidence of collusion. He's not making that mistake this time. He's not claiming he's got something he doesn't have. He's just going to make it up, and he made it up on national television, and I applaud any Democrats who criticize. I would criticize a Republican for making stuff up in something as serious as this hearing. He should be criticized also.
It's not necessary, and there's no reason not. Those are not the president's words. Those are his words, and it's so important in this midst of this investigation that we actually deal in the facts. There's an assessment in the New York Post today by Fred Fleitz, who was in the CIA and who's now, speaks on here and elsewhere about intelligence issues. He says that the language of this complaint to him seemed very sort of calculated, very legal, that maybe he had outside help, that the language in it was very legal. What did you think when you read it? Did that occur to you or no?
It was well written. You don't have to be a lawyer to write something well, and it certainly tracked the appropriate statutes. And but it also wasn't leaked, so I give the whistleblower credit for not leaking it. I mean, there are three allegations: the president misused his office. Number two, that they mishandled the phone call in the aftermath, and then this kind of unusual, or their perception that it's unusual that a president would ask the attorney general and Mayor Giuliani to investigate potential corruption. So those are the three allegations, but the transcript actually addresses two of those three pretty well. So
what do you think about the suggestion at the end of the phone transcript with regard to Joe Biden and looking into him? Do you see that is it separable from the election, given the circumstances of where we are right now with 4 months to Iowa and Joe Biden out on the campaign trail, or not?
Well, I mean, keep in mind, who brought up Rudy Giuliani? It wasn't Donald Trump. It was the president of Ukraine. That's the first reference to Rudy Giuliani. Who brought up defense aid? Okay. That was the president of Ukraine. That wasn't President Trump. So I think it can be separated in this way. I want us asking countries, particularly ones that we give money to, whether or not you have a problem with corruption. I mean, think back to 2016. Our country not only took, but we solicited help from other countries in trying to figure out whether or not the Russians were interfering with our election. Yeah. To be sure, President Obama was not on the ballot, but he was criticized for not asking for more help from foreign countries to stop it. So whatever was good for President Obama, let's at least apply the same standard to President Trump. Be fair about it.
So you make some interesting comments on that in the notes that you sent earlier. You say, have others asked foreign governments to assist like this in investigations? Have others employed private citizens with reference to Rudy Giuliani? I guess I have two questions about that. Have they? I think you can probably point to examples where they have. And is it necessarily relevant if they have?
Well, I mean, I think it's relevant that we treat people the same. I think it's relevant if our government asked for foreign assistance in the 2016 election and President Trump is asking for foreign assistance to keep corruption, or there's no statute of limitations on corruption. I mean, Joe Biden, whether he's the nominee or not, he was the vice president. I'm not prejudging anything, but if any vice president tries to assert influence to stop an investigation, I mean, I think your viewers ought to know about it. In terms of hiring private citizens, Daniel Richmond leaps to mind. Comey's friend.
Understood. This is John Brennan today on Twitter, and I've got two things I want to show you here. This is the first one. Whistleblower deserves our praise and gratitude. Donald Trump getting very sloppy and careless in corrupt practices and cover-up attempts. Democrats and Republicans, those who have a conscience, need to work together to prevent desperate moves by Trump that could wreak further havoc. John Brennan surfacing on this again.
No one I know gives a damn what John Brennan thinks. He's got the president in the dustbin of history. He hates the president. He didn't want him to get elected. He did everything he could to keep him from getting elected. So I'm a lot older than you, Martha, but I'm to the point. I'm just not going to worry about what people that I don't respect think. And John Brennan falls in that category.
All right. Kamala Harris says that, she says, I'll say it again, Barr, meaning Bill Barr, must come before Congress and testify under oath about whether or not he was asked to be involved in any of this corruption investigation. What do you think about that before I let you go?
Very, very disappointed that a prosecutor does not understand. Jim Comey also wanted that server. The FBI wanted the server. So why is it okay for Jim Comey to want the server, but the Attorney General? Look, I know she doesn't want him to be the AG. I know she didn't vote for him, but he is the AG. And the president has the right to ask the Attorney General to go get evidence of a potential crime. Comey did it. The DNC just didn't give it to him. So
yeah, I mean, that seems like exactly the place that you would go.
Was good enough for Comey.
Yeah, if you want to do an investigation, you want to coordinate with another country, you would want to involve your Department of Justice, clearly, correct?
I would want my AG leading that one. Yes, ma'am.
Trey Gowdy, thank you, sir. Always good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
What we have seen in that call record is a president of the United States use the full weight of his office to manufacture dirt on his opponent and interfere in our election.
So you have recordings of both Sobchak and Buseva where they're discussing the compromising material on Mr. Trump?
Absolutely.
Well, obviously, we would welcome a chance to get copies of those recordings.
It is illegal, improper, a violation of oath, a violation of his duty to defend our elections and our Constitution for the president to merely ask for foreign interference.
Call. But Adam Schiff doesn't talk about Joe Biden and his son walking away with millions of dollars from Ukraine and then millions of dollars from China, walking away in a quick meeting, walking away with millions of dollars. He doesn't talk about Joe Biden firing a prosecutor, and if that prosecutor is not fired, he's not going to give him money from the United States of America. They don't talk about that. My call was perfect. The president yesterday of Ukraine said there was no pressure put on him whatsoever, none whatsoever. And he said it loud and clear for the press. What these guys are doing, Democrats are doing to this country, is a disgrace, and it shouldn't be allowed. There should be a way of stopping it, maybe legally through the courts, but they're going to tie up our country. We can't talk about gun regulation. We can't talk about anything, because frankly, they're so tied up, they're so screwed up, nothing gets done except when I do it. I'm using Mexico to protect our border because the Democrats won't change loopholes in asylum. When you think of that, and I want to thank Mexico, 27,000 soldiers they have. But think of how bad that is. Think of it. Well, we use Mexico because the Democrats won't fix our broken immigration system. We need their votes. If we don't get their votes, we can't do it. And the Republicans are all on board. They want to fix it, but the Democrats won't do it. They don't want to talk about infrastructure. They don't want to talk about lowering drug prices. They don't want to talk about anything because they're fixated on this. And Nancy Pelosi has been hijacked by the radical left, and everybody knows it. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I just watched a little bit of this on television. It's a disgrace to our country. It's another witch hunt. Here we go again. It's Adam Schiff and his crew making up stories and sitting there like pious, whatever you want to call them. It's just really a disgrace. It's a terrible thing for our country. They can't do any work. They're frozen, the Democrats. They're going to lose the election. They know it. That's why they're doing it. And it should never be allowed what's happened to this president. And despite that, I think I've done just about more than any president in his first 2.5 years in office. If you look, I think you'll see very few could compete with the things we've done for our military, for the economy. We have the best economy anywhere in the world, by far. We've rebuilt our military. We've done so many things that are so incredible with tax cuts and regulation. And I have to put up with Adam Schiff on an absolutely perfect phone call to the new president of Ukraine. That was a perfect call. But Adam Schiff doesn't talk about Joe Biden and his son walking away with millions of dollars from Ukraine and then millions of dollars from China, walking away in a quick meeting, walking away with millions of dollars. He doesn't talk about Joe Biden firing a prosecutor. And if that prosecutor is not fired, he's not going to give him money from the United States of America. They don't talk about that. My call was perfect. The president yesterday of Ukraine said there was no pressure put on him whatsoever, none whatsoever. And he said it loud and clear for the press. What these guys are doing, Democrats are doing to this country, is a disgrace, and it shouldn't be allowed. There should be a way of stopping it, maybe legally through the courts, but they're going to tie up our country. We can't talk about gun regulation. We can't talk about anything because, frankly, they're so tied up, they're so screwed up, nothing gets done except when I do it. I'm using Mexico to protect our border.